All right, my people, this is the official introduction to the 10 principles of setting healthy boundaries for highly sensitive people. Now, first off, I just want to say thank you for trusting me to walk with you on this boundary setting journey. In this book, I really wrote it for the younger version of myself. The version of me who had no idea how to say no without feeling guilty, or how to stand up for my own needs without worrying I'd lose love or approval. So, in a way, this is actually me speaking to the both of us, and I'm really glad that you're here. Now, I have to admit, life is a little bit wild at the moment. Okay, I'm in the middle of creating my self-study course, launching a new community, of course, holding space for my one-on-one clients, and oh yeah, I'm moving into a brand new house with my wife. Okay, so as much as I'd love to record the audiobook myself, I had to get creative and I let Speechify's AI handle it for now. And honestly, it's not as bad as I thought it'd be. But when I can slow down a bit, I'm planning to either record it myself or have my good friend Tom, a professional voice actor. He did my first book, The Dragon Rider Chronicles. I'm going to have either me or him step in and give it the love that it really deserves. Now, what can you expect? Okay, this book is going to take you through a journey just like we're working together one-on-one. And I couldn't use real client stories, obviously, because of client confidentiality, but I did my best to roll up some of the biggest struggles that I've seen into a character named Emma. So as you read or listen, I want you to step inside of Emma's shoes. This journey is about finding your strength. It's about finding your voice and setting your first healthy boundary without guilt. Okay? Now, if you find yourself really connecting with Emma's story and you want to take it further, I'm creating a self-study program and a live community called Healing the People Pleaser's Curse, a journey into the past. It's all about mastering your emotions, mastering your mind, and mastering your somatic body so that you can heal those deep wounds and step fully into your power, especially if you're a highly sensitive person just like me. And if you're curious to see if it's a good fit for you, I'm offering a free 20-minute coaching call where we can chat and explore that together. So without further ado, I'm so glad you're here. I'm excited for what's ahead. Let's get started.
10 principles of setting guilt-free boundaries for highly sensitive people. Chapter 1, The Crossroads. In the heart of Seattle, under the perennially gray skies, Emma Carter sat in her compact office surrounded by stacks of case files and self-help books. Her desk was cluttered with notes from clients, reminders of the people she had helped and those who still needed her. Despite the chaos, there was an underlying order, a testament to Emma's ability to manage even in the midst of overwhelming demands. Emma had always been the cornerstone of support for everyone around her, her family, her friends, and her social work clients. At 32, she was the epitome of a caretaker, someone who thrived on being needed. Yet lately, that need had started to feel more like a noose than a purpose. Each yes she uttered added weight to her shoulders. Each act of self-sacrifice chipped away at her own reserves of strength. As she sat reviewing her schedule, which was double-booked with appointments and family commitments, Emma felt the familiar surge of anxiety. Her phone buzzed incessantly, a constant reminder of expectations and obligations. It was her sister, asking if she could handle the family gathering next weekend. Not a request, Emma noted, but an assumption. Of course, Emma typed back, her fingers heavy with reluctance. The reflection staring back at her from the computer screen looked worn. Her eyes, once bright with the desire to help others, now mirrored exhaustion. Emma knew something had to change, but the thought of setting boundaries brought a tightness to her chest. How could she start saying no when everyone relied on her saying yes? Later that evening, after a long day of back-to-back client sessions and a rushed dinner alone, Emma attended a webinar titled Setting Guilt-Free Boundaries for Highly Sensitive People. It was led by a mentor known for transforming lives, someone who had once walked the path Emma found herself on now. As the mentor spoke, each word resonated with Emma, illuminating her exhaustion as not just a symptom of overwork, but as a sign of her neglected self. The mentor discussed the art of saying no, not just to others, but to the internal critic that demanded she always do more. They spoke of the importance of self-care as a foundation for genuine care for others, a concept so simple yet revolutionary to Emma. The webinar concluded with an invitation to join a more intensive program, which promised a journey towards self-liberation through the mastery of boundaries. Emma felt a flicker of hope, the first in what felt like a long time. Could she really learn to put herself first and still be the compassionate, caring person she prided herself on being? That night, as Emma lay in bed, the words from the webinar echoed in her mind. She was at a crossroads, caught between the comfort of her people-pleasing ways and the unknown territory of self-preservation. It was time to make a choice. With a deep, steadying breath, Emma made her decision. She would enroll in the program. She would learn to set boundaries and reclaim her life. It wouldn't be easy, she knew, but the first step in her new chapter had been taken. And so, with a mixture of fear and excitement, Emma drifted into sleep, the weight of her old self slowly lifting off her shoulders. Tomorrow, she knew, would mark the beginning of something transformative. Chapter 2, C², How to Set Loving, Healthy Boundaries 10 times as faster than you ever thought possible. As dawn's early light washed over the city, casting a gentle glow through her window, Emma awoke with a sense of clarity she hadn't felt in years. Today was not just another day, it was the beginning of her transformation. The day she would start to learn the art of setting boundaries with love, with respect, both for herself and others. As you, dear reader, journey with Emma, allow yourself to be drawn into a state of deep relaxation and openness. Let each word gently guide you into a space where your own boundaries can be explored and redefined. Imagine a soothing voice, perhaps like that of the wind whispering through leaves, inviting you to delve into the realms of curiosity, creativity, competence, confidence, and the essential glue, safety. Curiosity, the gateway to transformation. Emma sat across from her mentor, the gentle glow of morning light spilling into the room, creating an ambiance of warmth and possibility. The room was quiet, save for the soft hum of a distant heater, a comforting background to the conversation that was about to unfold. Today, her mentor introduced her to the first of the C's, curiosity, and it would be the beginning of a profound journey within. Curiosity, her mentor began, is the key to unlocking doors you never even knew existed. It's the gentle nudge that invites you to explore what lies beneath the surface of your daily habits and decisions. It asks questions not to challenge you, but to free you. Emma listened intently, her heart beating a little faster with anticipation. Her mentor's words stirred something deep inside her, a flicker of hope, of possibility. Close your eyes, the mentor instructed softly. Allow yourself to become curious about your life. Imagine you're a traveler in a foreign land and the terrain you're exploring is your own mind, your own choices. Emma let her eyelids fall shut, and with a deep breath, she allowed herself to sink into the state of curiosity. She pictured herself walking through a vast, open landscape. Each step she took revealed a different part of her life, her job, her relationships, her dreams. She imagined herself approaching each of these areas with the wonder of a child, unafraid to ask questions, unafraid to dig deeper. What do you see? Her mentor asked, guiding her through the process. I see patterns, Emma responded slowly, her voice soft and reflective. I see how often I say yes when I want to say no. I see how much I worry about disappointing others, and I see how tired I am of IIT. Good, her mentor affirmed. Now, allow that curiosity to guide you further. Imagine asking each part of your life why it demands so much from you. What would it say? Emma's breath caught as she let her imagination roam free. She imagined each aspect of her life, her work, her family, her relationships, coming to life, explaining their demands. Her job whispered that it needed her to be the peacekeeper, the one who always says yes because everyone else depends on her. Her family murmured about the expectations placed on her shoulders, passed down like heirlooms from generation to generation. Her relationship with Alex echoed with the unspoken agreements they'd never truly discussed, the comfort of routine preventing deeper, more challenging conversations. The more Emma listened, the more she realized how much of her life had been shaped by external expectations and how little had been guided by her own desires. This revelation didn't bring sadness, but rather a sense of empowerment. For the first time, she was looking at her life with fresh eyes, unclouded by guilt or obligation. Her mentor spoke again, gently pulling her back from her introspection. Curiosity is not just about finding answers, Emma. It's about asking the right questions. It's about being open to discovering what truly drives you, what truly matters to you. Emma opened her eyes, feeling a strange mix of emotions, relief, excitement, and a budding sense of possibility. She had begun to unravel the complexities of her own life, not with judgment, but with understanding. The landscape of her life, once so daunting, now seemed like an open book, ready to be rewritten. Her mentor smiled warmly. Curiosity will be your compass, Emma. It will guide you as you explore the life you want to live, not the life you think you should live. Emma nodded, feeling a lightness in her chest, as if a weight she hadn't even noticed before had been lifted. She could see now that the first step to setting boundaries wasn't about confrontation or fear. It was about discovery. It was about understanding herself deeply enough to know what she truly needed and wanted. As Emma left her mentor's office that day, the world outside seemed a little brighter, a little more vibrant. She was filled with the awareness that her life was a journey, one that she was finally ready to embark on with curiosity as her guide. Creativity, painting the canvas of your life. The following week, Emma returned to her mentor's office with a sense of anticipation. The previous session had awakened something in her, a curiosity that was now leading her to the next step in her journey. Today, her mentor introduced the second C, creativity. Curiosity's opened the door, her mentor began, and now creativity will allow you to shape what's on the other side. Imagine your life as a blank canvas, waiting for you to paint your own masterpiece. What would it look like if you could design it from scratch? Emma's pulse quickened as she let her imagination run free. The idea of creating her life, of having the power to define and design her own experience, was both exhilarating and daunting. Her mentor encouraged her to close her eyes again and step into this creative space. Let go of any preconceived notions, Emma, the mentor instructed. Forget what you've been told you should do, should be, should want. Imagine you have a paintbrush in your hand, and each boundary you set, each decision you make, is a stroke of vibrant color on your canvas. Emma's breathing deepened as she visualized herself standing before a vast, empty canvas. In her mind's eye, she saw herself dipping a brush into a pot of bright, bold colors, each hue representing a different aspect of her life. What color would you choose for your work? Her mentor asked. Green, Emma replied instinctively. For growth, for new beginnings. She imagined painting broad, sweeping strokes of green across the canvas, representing her desire to grow in her new career as a healer and life coach. She visualized herself setting clear boundaries around her time, dedicating specific hours each day to her practice, allowing herself the space to cultivate her passion. And what about your relationships? Her mentor prompted. Emma dipped her brush into a pot of soft, warm orange. She painted a circle, encompassing her relationship with Alex, her family, and her friends. As she did, she envisioned herself communicating her needs clearly and lovingly, ensuring that her relationships were balanced with give and take on both sides. The canvas began to fill with colors and shapes, each one a representation of a boundary, a decision, a choice. Emma imagined herself saying no to requests that drained her, painting a strong line of deep blue, her color of calm and peace, through the middle of the canvas, separating her personal time from the demands of others. With each stroke, Emma felt a sense of empowerment growing within her. The canvas of her life was no longer a chaotic mess of conflicting demands and obligations. It was becoming a beautiful, cohesive work of art designed by her for her. Creativity isn't just about art, her mentor explained as Emma opened her eyes. It's about seeing your life as something you have the power to shape. It's about recognizing that you are the artist, and your life is your masterpiece. Every boundary you set is a deliberate choice to make your life more beautiful, more fulfilling. Emma felt a surge of excitement. She could see it now, how boundaries weren't barriers, but rather the lines that defined her art, her life. They were the structures that allowed her creativity to flow freely, without fear of being overwhelmed or depleted. Emma, her mentor said softly, what would your life look like if you allowed yourself to paint it without any restrictions? What would you create? Emma smiled, her mind racing with possibilities. For the first time, she felt the full potential of her creativity, and with it, the realization that she had the power to design her life exactly as she wanted it to be. As she left her mentor's office, Emma felt a newfound sense of ownership over her life. She was no longer just reacting to the demands of others, she was creating her own path, one brushstroke at a time. Competence, mastering the skills of boundary setting. Emma returned to her mentor's office with a sense of determination. She had spent the past week imagining and designing the life she wanted, painting it with the colors of her creativity. But now, it was time to bring those visions into reality. Today's lesson was about competence, developing the skills needed to set boundaries effectively. Creativity gives you the vision, but competence gives you the tools to make that vision a reality, her mentor explained. Setting boundaries is both an art and a skill. And like any skill, it requires practice, patience, and persistence. Emma nodded, ready to learn. Her mentor guided her through a series of exercises designed to build her competence in boundary setting. They started with simple scenarios, situations where Emma often found herself saying yes when she wanted to say no. Let's begin with a situation you encounter frequently, her mentor suggested. Imagine a friend asking you to do something that you don't have the time or energy for. How would you typically respond? Emma hesitated, then admitted, I'd probably say yes, even if I didn't want to. I'd feel guilty about letting them down. Let's change that, her mentor said gently. Now, imagine the same situation, but this time, you respond with a clear, confident no. What does that sound like? Emma closed her eyes, visualizing the scenario. She saw herself standing in front of her friend, taking a deep breath and calmly saying, I appreciate you asking, but I'm going to have to say no. I have other commitments that need my attention right now. As she spoke the words in her mind, Emma felt a twinge of anxiety, but also a surprising surge of empowerment. She repeated the phrase several times, each repetition making her feel more confident, more capable. Her mentor then introduced more complex scenarios, gradually increasing the difficulty to challenge Emma's growing skills. They role-played situations involving family, work, and even her relationship with Alex. With each role-play, Emma practiced articulating her boundaries clearly and assertively. Her mentor gave feedback on her tone, her choice of words, and her body language, helping Emma refine her approach. What you're learning today will become the backbone of your interactions, her mentor encouraged. Remember, setting boundaries is not just about saying no. It's about communicating your needs and expectations in a way that respects both you and the other person. As the session progressed, Emma began to feel more at ease. She practiced phrases like, I understand this is important, but I need to prioritize my well-being. And let's find another time that works for both of us. Each phrase, each role play added to her toolkit, building her competence one step at a time. Towards the end of their time together, her mentor introduced a critical aspect of competence, maintaining consistency. Consistency in enforcing your boundaries reinforces their validity, her mentor explained. It sends a clear message that your needs are important and non-negotiable. It's about respecting yourself enough to stand firm in your decisions. Emma absorbed this advice, understanding that her newfound skills would need nurturing through continuous practice and reinforcement. She left the session feeling equipped and ready to apply her learning in real-world interactions. The thought was exhilarating and daunting, but she was no longer navigating it alone. Confidence, the blossoming of self-assurance. Weeks passed, and Emma diligently applied the skills she had learned. With each boundary she successfully set and maintained, her confidence grew. It was as if each successful interaction planted a seed of self-assurance within her, and she could feel herself blossoming. In her next session, her mentor focused on bolstering this growing confidence. Confidence is not just about feeling secure and setting boundaries, it's about knowing that you deserve to have those boundaries respected, her mentor noted. Emma and her mentor revisited the successes she had experienced since their last meeting. Think about the times you successfully set a boundary. How did it feel? What reactions did you observe? Her mentor asked. Emma reflected on recent interactions where she had said no to a last-minute request at work and declined an invitation to a social event she was not interested in. I was nervous at first, but neither situation turned out as scary as I imagined. Actually, people respected my decisions. It made me feel respected too, Emma shared. That's excellent, Emma, her mentor smiled. With each positive experience, your brain is rewriting the old narratives that held you back. You're proving to yourself that you can protect your energy and priorities without catastrophic outcomes. To further cement Emma's confidence, her mentor had her visualize future scenarios where she would need to assert her boundaries. Emma closed her eyes and imagined herself handling these situations with poise and assurance. Each visualization built on the last, layering her psyche with robust examples of her capability and strength. Visualizing success helps solidify the belief in your ability to handle challenges, her mentor explained. Confidence comes from seeing yourself succeed, even if it's first in your mind's eye. This practice not only prepares you for real-life situations, but also embeds a deep sense of self-efficacy. As the session ended, Emma felt a profound shift within her. She was no longer the hesitant, perpetually accommodating version of herself. She had begun to see herself as someone capable, deserving of respect, and competent in maintaining her boundaries. The seeds of confidence planted through each successful interaction were blossoming, and she was eager to see how much more she could grow. With each step forward, Emma was not just setting boundaries, she was setting herself free. And in this newfound freedom, she found the courage to pursue her dreams and the balance she had long sought in her life. The journey with her mentor was transforming her life, one boundary at a time, and she was deeply grateful for the wisdom and support that guided her along the way. Safety, the foundation of freedom. As Emma progressed through the C-squared process, she explored and embraced curiosity, creativity, competence, and confidence. These components fundamentally reshaped her approach to boundaries and self-care. Yet, the journey's success hinged on the final and most crucial element, safety. In the tranquil sanctuary of her mentor's office, with soothing tones and soft light creating a serene backdrop, Emma prepared to delve into the concept of safety. Her mentor, always perceptive, introduced the topic with a gentle voice. Safety is not merely about protection, Emma. It's about creating a foundation where all other aspects of your growth can flourish securely. Safety, the mentor continued, is the glue that binds your newfound skills and mindsets together. It allows you to explore, create, perform, and assert without fear. Today, we'll work on embedding this into every facet of your boundary-setting process. Emma listened, her thoughts reflecting on the times she had felt unsafe, when saying no seemed fraught with risk, or asserting her needs felt like an invitation for conflict. She recognized that without a sense of safety, her efforts in setting boundaries were often half-hearted or inconsistent. Establishing internal safety. Her mentor guided her first to establish internal safety. Imagine a safe, secure place within yourself, the mentor suggested. A fortress of solitude that you can retreat to whenever you feel threatened or overwhelmed. This place is sacred and untouchable, inviolable, where no external criticisms or demands can reach you. Emma closed her eyes, envisioning a cozy room within her, with walls lined with books, soft cushions, and a warm fireplace. It was a sanctuary where the outside world's chaos could not penetrate. This is your psychological safety net, her mentor explained. Whenever you set a boundary and feel the pushback, retreat here. Remind yourself that you are safe, your needs are valid, and your boundaries are non-negotiable, reinforcing external safety. Next, they discussed creating external safety, a supportive environment that reinforces her boundaries rather than challenges them. Let's identify your allies, her mentor proposed. These are people who respect and support your boundaries. They are your safety net in the external world. Emma thought of a few close friends and even some family members who had shown understanding and respect for her needs. These relationships are treasures, her mentor affirmed. Lean on them, draw strength from them, and use them as examples to model your other interactions. Practicing safe communication. Communicating boundaries safely was another critical skill. Her mentor taught her phrases that convey strength yet openness, such as, "I appreciate your understanding as I manage my time to fit my needs," or "Thank you for respecting my preferences." Each phrase was a building block in constructing a dialogue that maintained safety, ensuring that her words couldn't be easily dismissed or overrun. Safe communication is clear, direct, and respectful. It leaves little room for misinterpretation and a lot of room for mutual respect, her mentor explained. Celebrating safety. Finally, Emma learned to celebrate moments when she felt safe. These celebrations were acknowledgments that reinforced her progress and solidified her sense of security. Each time you feel safe saying no, or when someone respects your boundary, take a moment to celebrate it, her mentor encouraged. These moments are affirmations of your growth and indicators of your evolving environment. As the session on safety drew to a close, Emma felt a profound sense of completeness. The journey through the C-squared process had equipped her with the tools, skills, and now the foundational safety to live a life defined by her choices and needs. She was no longer at the mercy of others' demands or expectations. Instead, she was a creator of her destiny, secure in her right to choose, to refuse, and to embrace her genuine self. Safety, Emma realized, is not just the absence of threat, but the presence of a nurturing environment that allows me to thrive. With this newfound understanding, she stepped forward into the next phase of her life, ready to explore, assert, and love with a heart unburdened by fear. Chapter 3: 10 Principles of Strong, Healthy, Guilt-Free Boundaries. Introduction. As Emma progressed through the transformative journey of the C-squared process, she discovered layers of self-awareness and empowerment that she never knew she possessed. Each step, from embracing her curiosity to securing her sense of safety, guided her to a deeper understanding of herself and her interactions with the world around her. With these foundational skills now a part of her everyday life, Emma was ready to deepen her mastery of setting boundaries through a more structured approach. Now, as she sat once again in the comforting ambiance of her mentor's office, the stage was set for the next phase of her development. Her mentor, ever insightful and supportive, introduced her to the next critical toolkit in her journey, the 10 Principles of Strong, Healthy Boundaries. This next phase of training, Emma, builds on everything you've learned and practiced so far, her mentor began, his voice both encouraging and serious. While the C-squared process equipped you with the fundamental skills to navigate your inner and outer worlds, these 10 principles will refine your ability to establish and maintain boundaries that are not just effective, but also resonate deeply with your personal integrity and relationships. Emma nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and anticipation. She understood that the principles were not just rules to follow blindly, but were meant to be integrated into her life as a means of sustaining the growth and changes she had already begun to implement. Think of these principles as your compass, her mentor continued. They will guide you in maintaining your boundaries across all aspects of your life, from your most intimate relationships to your professional interactions. They ensure that your boundaries are not barriers, but bridges, connections that foster respect, understanding, and mutual growth. With this introduction, Emma felt an eagerness to dive into the principles. She was ready to explore each one, understanding how to apply them practically and thoughtfully to reinforce her journey towards living a life defined by her choices, respected by her peers, and enriched with authentic interactions. Thus began Emma's exploration into the 10 principles of strong, healthy boundaries, each principle a stepping stone to cultivating a life of balance, respect, and personal fulfillment. As she prepared to delve into the first principle, she felt a sense of readiness and determination, armed with the knowledge and skills she had gained, and eager to continue her path of self-discovery and empowerment. Principle number 1. You are perfect, whole, and complete just as you are, with plenty of room left to grow. In the quiet comfort of her mentor's office, surrounded by the gentle ambiance of soft lighting and serene decor, Emma embarked on understanding the first principle: I am perfect, whole, and complete just as I am, with plenty of room left to grow. Her mentor, wise in the ways of personal transformation, chose the metaphor of a seed evolving into a full blossom to illustrate this profound concept. Imagine, Emma, her mentor began, a seed in the earth. It is small, yet it is complete in its entirety, possessing everything it needs to become a flower. At this stage, is it not perfect? Does it lack anything as a seed? Emma pictured a tiny seed in rich soil, its potential hidden but intact. It's perfect as it is, she agreed, intrigued by the simplicity of the comparison. Exactly, her mentor smiled warmly. Now, as warmth and rain nurture it, the seed begins to sprout. It grows roots and a tiny stem. In each phase of its growth, from a seed to a sprout and eventually to a bud, it remains whole and complete. Each stage is perfect for what it is, yet it continues to grow, change, and evolve. Emma visualized the sprouting seed, now pushing through the soil, reaching upward towards the sunlight. Its leaves unfolding from a tiny stem. So it's still complete, even when just starting to grow. Indeed, her mentor replied. Each phase of the plant's life cycle is complete within itself, yet it holds the potential for further development. Now, think of the blossom it eventually becomes. The bloom is also perfect, vibrant, and full of life, representing another phase of completeness, yet it too will change. The metaphor resonated deeply with Emma. She reflected on her own life's phases, her childhood, her adolescence, her current adult self, each phase complete and perfect on its own, yet evolving into something new. Your personal growth, her mentor continued, is much like this flower. At each stage of your life, you are complete. As a child, as a young adult, now, you are not lacking. You are whole, yet you continue to grow, learn, and blossom into new versions of yourself. Emma understood that her feelings of inadequacy weren't due to being incomplete, but perhaps because she hadn't recognized the completeness of each stage. So, setting boundaries and asking for what I need doesn't mean I'm not whole? Correct, her mentor nodded. Setting boundaries is like the plant drawing nutrients from the soil. It is a means for you to nurture and support your growth. You set these boundaries not because you are incomplete, but because you are maintaining and respecting the completeness of what you are at this moment, while giving yourself the room to grow. This brought Emma a new sense of peace and acceptance about herself and her journey. She felt like a plant basking in the sun, ready to continue her growth, knowing she was perfect as she was and excited about the potential blossoming within her. Emma began to view herself and her journey through life as a natural progression of completeness, from seed to full bloom, each stage valuable, each moment whole. She learned to appreciate her current self while looking forward to the growth yet to come, understanding that, like the flower, her next phase of life would be just as complete and perfect in its own right. This realization wasn't just comforting, it was empowering, granting her the freedom to evolve at her own natural pace, perfectly whole at every step. Principle number 2, needs and boundaries are a normal part of healthy relating. As the light softened and shadows lengthened across the serene decor of her mentor's office, Emma's session continued to unfurl, layer by layer. The room, a cocoon of tranquility, seemed to pulse with the slow, steady rhythm of a calm sea, inviting her deeper into her own mind's landscapes. Emma, her mentor continued, weaving the conversation through the delicate threads of metaphor and story, let's imagine that as the seed you visualize continues to grow, it encounters various elements. Some of these elements support its growth, like the sun and rain. However, imagine now that there are weeds growing around it, threatening to choke its space and block its light. Emma nodded, picturing the young plant surrounded by weeds, its vibrant green overshadowed by encroaching tendrils. The plant, her mentor said in a tone smooth and flowing like a gentle river, instinctively knows it must push against these weeds. It does not do this out of malice or fear, but from a deep, innate understanding that it must set boundaries to claim its own space, light, and nutrients. This is not just survival, it is an affirmation of its right to thrive. Emma felt the truth of this settle around her like a soft cloak. Boundaries, then, were as natural as breathing, as necessary as sunlight for a plant. Each of us, like that plant, has an ecological niche within the vast garden of humanity. Her mentor elaborated. Within this space, our needs can be seen as the water and sunlight essential to our growth. Expressing these needs, therefore, is not about demanding more than our share, but about acknowledging what we require to reach our full potential. The metaphor expanded, opening Emma's understanding. She reflected on moments in her family life when she'd held back her needs, allowing the weeds of others' demands to overshadow her. She saw now how these moments stunted her growth. Consider, her mentor suggested, how your relationships might change if you viewed expressing your needs as an act of tending to your garden, ensuring that everything there has the room and resources to flourish. Emma thought about her relationship with Alex. Recently, she had begun to express her desires more clearly, choosing activities for their dates that spoke to her interests, like visiting art galleries or going on nature hikes. To her delight, Alex had not only supported her, but had also engaged with her choices, bringing them closer. And at work, her mentor prompted, guiding her thoughts to another aspect of her life, how does setting boundaries support your growth? Emma remembered a recent project meeting where she had voiced her need for more realistic deadlines. Initially nervous, the outcome had been overwhelmingly positive, with her colleagues expressing relief and agreement, leading to a more balanced workload for the team. By setting boundaries, you're not only nurturing your own growth, but also encouraging a healthier, more respectful environment for everyone, her mentor concluded, his voice a soothing balm. As the session drew to a close, Emma felt a profound shift within her. The metaphor of the garden had transformed her perspective on needs and boundaries from one of potential conflict to one of mutual benefit and harmony. She left the office with a sense of peace, picturing herself not just as a plant in the sun, but as a gardener in her own right, tending to the diverse needs of her life's garden with wisdom and love. The conversation left Emma feeling empowered and enlightened, her understanding deepened by the hypnotic cadence of her mentor's guidance. She was ready to cultivate her space, ensuring that her boundaries allowed her and those around her to blossom fully, beautifully together. Principle number 3. I am allowed to have needs, wants, and desires separate from those I am in relationship with. A week had passed since Emma's last transformative session in the tranquil haven of her mentor's office. Each day that unfolded brought with it a deeper understanding and integration of the insights she had gained. As she returned to the familiar, comforting setting, where every object seemed to hold a quiet wisdom, Emma was eager to explore the new contours of her evolving self-awareness. "Welcome back, Emma," her mentor greeted her with a gentle smile that seemed to reflect Emma's inner growth. "How's this week been for you?" "It's been enlightening," Emma began, her voice tinged with the excitement of discovery. "I've been reflecting on our last discussion about the garden and my place within it. I realize how often I've let my needs and desires become overshadowed by the wants of those around me, as if my own were less important or valid." Her mentor nodded encouragingly, prompting her to continue. "I started to see that my needs, wants, and desires are not just add-ons to my life. They are core to my being," Emma continued, her words flowing with newfound conviction. "They are like the unique colors of flowers in a garden, each distinct and vibrant on its own. I've learned that it's not only okay, but necessary for me to express and fulfill them, separate from the needs and expectations of others." The room seemed to embrace her revelation, the soft lighting casting gentle shadows that played across the serene decor, enhancing the atmosphere of introspective discovery. "That's a powerful realization, Emma," her mentor responded, his voice soft yet clear. "And how do you feel about expressing these individual needs?" "At first it felt selfish," Emma admitted, "but then I remembered our metaphor of the garden. Just as every flower has a right to its space and sunlight, I have a right to nurture my own growth. This week, I've been practicing expressing my desires more openly. With Alex, I suggested activities that truly interest me, and to my surprise, he was not only supportive but also enthusiastic to join in." Her mentor's eyes sparkled with approval. "Emma, that's wonderful to hear. You're recognizing that having and expressing your needs enriches your relationships rather than detracting from them. It allows for a more authentic connection where both parties can truly flourish." Encouraged by her mentor's words, Emma felt a warm sense of affirmation spread through her. She was beginning to view her relationships as dynamic interplays of individual colors and textures, each contributing uniquely to a shared tapestry. As you continue to explore and express your unique needs, remember, her mentor transitioned smoothly, leading her to the brink of the next principle. There are multiple ways to meet these needs. The process requires curiosity about what truly satisfies you and creativity in fulfilling these desires. Emma nodded, intrigued by the segue. "So, finding ways to meet my needs isn't just about a direct ask or taking what's offered, but about exploring different paths and options?" "Exactly," her mentor confirmed, a hint of intrigue in her voice that suggested the vast possibilities waiting to be discovered. "Think of it as an adventure where curiosity and creativity become your guides. Each need or desire can be met in various ways, each path offering its own rewards and lessons." Her journey of self-discovery was unfolding like a map before her, each principle a stepping stone that led her deeper into the territory of her own inner landscape. With a sense of anticipation for the explorations ahead, Emma took a deep breath and relaxed even deeper into her chair, ready to dive into the creative process of meeting her needs. The thought of approaching her desires with curiosity and inventiveness promised not only to satisfy her needs, but also to enrich her life with unexpected joys and fulfillments. Principle number 4. There are multiple ways to meet a need. Curiosity and creativity are required. As Emma sank into the deep comfort of the familiar leather chair in her mentor's office, the soft lighting seemed to wrap around her like a warm embrace. She was here to tackle a pivotal aspect of her romantic relationship with Alex, navigating their individual needs in a way that strengthened rather than strained their bond. "Emma," her mentor started, his tone inviting and thoughtful, "imagine your relationship as a complex tapestry woven from the threads of both your lives. Each thread represents different needs, wants, and desires. Some threads are yours alone, and others belong to Alex, but all are essential." He paused to let the metaphor sink in, giving Emma a moment to visualize this tapestry. "Now, think about how enriching it can be when you both explore these threads independently and then come together to weave them into something beautiful." Emma nodded, her mind alive with images of colorful threads, each one vibrant and distinct. "I see," she said. "So acknowledging our separate needs doesn't weaken our relationship, but actually enriches it." "Exactly," her mentor affirmed. "Let's discuss how embracing this diversity of needs can lead to a deeper, more harmonious connection." He suggested they map out these needs as if plotting a course on a journey they were planning together. "For instance," he continued, "if you need more quiet time and Alex needs more active engagement, you can find separate but complementary ways to satisfy these needs." Emma thought about this in practice. Perhaps she could spend a morning in meditation while Alex joined a local cycling group. Later, they could share their experiences over coffee, each bringing fresh energy and perspectives to their conversation. Her mentor smiled, seeing her grasp the concept. "This approach allows you both to grow individually and enhances your appreciation for each other's uniqueness. It's about finding balance, not sacrificing one's desires for the other." He then led Emma to consider how this principle could be applied creatively. There are countless ways to meet these needs. It requires curiosity to explore options and creativity to implement them effectively. Like finding a new hobby or activity we can both try, even if it's just once? Emma suggested, her mind warming to the idea. Yes, or even alternating who picks the activity for the weekend, her mentor added. It becomes a playful exploration of each other's worlds. As the session drew to a close, Emma felt a renewed sense of possibility for her relationship with Alex. She was learning that their differences were not just to be tolerated, but celebrated and explored with joy and creativity. Her mentor's final words resonated deeply as she prepared to leave. Remember, Emma, the paths to meeting each other's needs are as numerous as the stars in the sky. Each one can lead you to new discoveries about yourself and each other. Stay curious, stay creative, and watch how your relationship transforms. Emma left the session feeling lighter and more hopeful than she had in a long time. She was eager to share these insights with Alex, confident that they were on the brink of discovering new and delightful ways to strengthen their partnership. As she stepped out into the crisp air, her heart was full of anticipation for the adventures that lay ahead. Principle number 5, connection authenticity equal to alignment. In the next session with her mentor, Emma was eager to delve into a new principle that promised to deepen her understanding of her relationships even further. The room felt particularly cozy that day, the soft glow of the afternoon light filtering through the window casting a tranquil ambiance. Today, we'll explore how true alignment in relationships comes from the combination of connection and authenticity, her mentor began, his voice as calm and reassuring as the environment around them. Imagine your relationship as a dance. In a dance, each person's movements must not only connect with, but also genuinely express their own rhythm and style for the dance to flow harmoniously. He paused, letting the metaphor settle in. Now, imagine dancing with someone who expects you to follow their steps exactly, without room for your own expression. Emma pictured herself trying to dance, stepping hesitantly as she tried to mimic her partner's moves precisely, suppressing her instinct to twirl or sway in her own unique way. The dance felt awkward, constrained, more a mimicry than a true dance. This is like being in a relationship where authenticity is stifled, her mentor explained. There's a connection, yes, but it's rigid and unyielding. It lacks the joy and fluidity that comes when both dancers are free to express themselves truly. Emma nodded, understanding the discomfort of that imagined dance all too well. And what about when I'm afraid to show my true self? She asked, thinking about times she had held back her true thoughts or feelings for fear of being judged or rejected. That's like knowing your own dance moves but choosing to sit out the dance because you're afraid others might not appreciate your style, her mentor replied gently. You are there, connected to the potential of the dance, but not participating authentically. The fear of rejection keeps you from experiencing true alignment. Emma felt the weight of those words. She had indeed sat out many such dances in her life. However, her mentor continued, shifting the tone. Imagine now that both you and your partner are dancing freely, each expressing your authentic selves while being in sync. You adapt to each other's rhythms, sometimes leading, sometimes following, but always in harmony. This new image filled Emma with a sense of possibility and delight. She visualized a dance where she moved freely, her style complementing her partner's, both enhancing the dance with their unique contributions. This is the essence of a relationship built on connection and authenticity, her mentor concluded. You are in alignment because you connect through your true selves, making the relationship a source of joy and strength. She understood now that to achieve true alignment in any relationship, she needed to embrace her authenticity, just as she embraced the connection. It wasn't merely about being present with another. It was about being fully oneself, fearlessly sharing her true nature, and celebrating the unique dance that ensued. Emma felt more prepared to face her fears of authenticity. She was ready to dance her true dance, knowing that true alignment with those around her, be it Alex, family, or friends, depended on it. This principle wasn't just a concept, it was a pathway to deeper, more fulfilling relationships. Principle number 6, connection, authenticity equal to control and manipulation. This is the essence of a relationship built on connection and authenticity, her mentor concluded. You are in alignment because you connect through your true selves, making the relationship a source of joy and strength. He paused, his expression shifting slightly as he prepared to guide Emma through a contrasting scenario, one that explored the darker side of connection without authenticity. Now, let's consider what happens when connection exists without authenticity, he began, his tone somber yet instructive. Imagine a garden where vines are growing thickly around each plant. The vines connect each plant to another, but they also smother and restrict. Instead of supporting growth, they control and manipulate the space. Emma visualized this garden, the vines curling tightly around beautiful plants, stifling their freedom to grow independently. It was a powerful image that resonated deeply with her. In relationships, this scenario manifests when connection is maintained at the expense of authenticity. Each person may feel bound to the other, but without the freedom to be true to themselves. This often occurs in dynamics driven by anxious and avoidant attachment styles, her mentor explained, guiding Emma to understand these complex interactions. He elaborated, Consider a person with an anxious attachment style. They crave closeness and are highly sensitive to any signs of rejection or abandonment. In their quest for security, they may cling tighter, fearing that authenticity, showing their true needs and vulnerabilities, might lead to loss or conflict. Emma nodded, recalling times when fear of conflict made her conceal her true feelings, sacrificing authenticity for a semblance of connection. On the other hand, someone with an avoidant attachment style values independence above closeness. They pull away at signs of intimacy that feels too encompassing, controlling the relationship by withholding their true selves. They fear losing their autonomy, so they manage this fear by limiting how authentic they can be within the relationship. The mentor's description painted a clear picture of how both styles, in their own ways, manipulate and control the relationship dynamics to avoid their deepest fears, rejection for the anxious, and engulfment for the avoidant. This lack of authenticity leads to a cycle where true connection is impossible, because both parties are acting not out of love or desire for genuine intimacy, but out of fear, he continued. The relationship becomes a battleground where each person maneuvers to satisfy their attachment needs without ever addressing the root of their behaviors. Emma felt a growing understanding of how these dynamics played out in her past relationships. She saw the vines of control and manipulation, recognizing times when she either clung too tightly or held herself back, all in an effort to maintain what she thought was connection. To break free from this cycle, her mentor advised, both partners must learn to face and express their true selves. This doesn't just mean sharing joys and interests, but also fears, weaknesses, and needs. It requires building a relationship where authenticity is celebrated and encouraged, and where both partners work towards security and attachment that does not come at the cost of their true selves. As the session concluded, Emma reflected on this new understanding. She realized that striving for authenticity in her connections was not just about personal integrity, but about cultivating relationships that were genuinely supportive and enriching. She left the mentor's office with the resolve to foster only those connections that allowed for true growth and self-expression, committed to avoiding the entangling vines of control and manipulation. This session opened her eyes to the critical importance of authenticity in maintaining healthy, balanced relationships, setting the stage for her continued journey towards deeper, more meaningful connections. Principle number 7, if it comes from me, I own it, then decide if I want it. Ownership and choice, the castle of self. In the quiet sanctuary of her mentor's office, Emma prepared to delve into a new principle that promised to shift her understanding of personal responsibility and self-governance. Today, we're going to explore a powerful idea, her mentor began, his voice setting the stage for a profound lesson. If it comes from me, I own it, then decide if I want it. He paused to ensure Emma was aligned with the concept before introducing a vivid metaphor to help crystallize the idea. Imagine 2 neighboring castles, he said, drawing an imaginary map in the air with his hands. Each castle represents a person. Let's say one is yours and the other belongs to someone significant in your life. Emma visualized her castle, sturdy and imposing on a lush landscape, adjacent to another equally formidable castle. Between these castles, goods and services are constantly being traded, her mentor continued. These goods include thoughts, feelings, and requests. Just like in medieval times, these items are packed up, sent across, and received by the neighboring party. Emma nodded, picturing caravans loaded with goods moving between the castles, some desirable and others less so. Now, her mentor said, shifting slightly to emphasize his point, just as you would inspect physical goods for quality, so too must you inspect these mental and emotional goods. If someone sends over a caravan filled with guilt or unwarranted criticism, think of it as them offering you a rotten piece of food. Would you accept it into your castle? Of course not, Emma replied, the image making her understand the autonomy she held over what she accepted into her mental and emotional space. Exactly, her mentor affirmed. If it originates from within you, be it guilt, a reactionary thought, or an old belief perhaps given to you in childhood, you have the sovereign right to inspect it and decide, do I want to keep this? Is this beneficial for my castle's well-being? If not, you have every right to reject it, to send it back or dispose of it. Emma considered this new power over her internal goods, realizing the autonomy she possessed not just in rejecting external negatives, but in choosing which of her own feelings and thoughts she wanted to nurture. As you grow, her mentor added, you'll find that many old goods no longer serve you. They might be relics from past experiences or imposed beliefs that no longer align with who you are becoming. It is your right and responsibility to clear these from your castle, ensuring that everything within your walls enriches and supports your well-being. This conversation illuminated for Emma the continuous process of introspection and choice required to maintain her mental and emotional kingdom. She felt empowered, aware of her capacity to govern what stayed and what left her inner realm. With her mentor's guidance, she began to understand the crucial importance of owning every thought, emotion, and behavior that emanated from her, regardless of its origin. Emma, her mentor began, his voice firm yet compassionate, it's essential to recognize that you might carry many inheritances within your castle. Thoughts, emotions, and behaviors passed down from your parents, absorbed from friends, or even remnants from childhood experiences. These elements might not have originated from you, but the moment they influence how you interact with the world, they become your responsibility. He paused to let the gravity of his words sink in. If these influences are toxic, spreading poison within your walls or towards others, it's up to you to intercept these messengers or warriors before they breach the gates of those you care about. Emma nodded, understanding the metaphor deeply. She thought about times when her reactions, seeded by past hurts or long-held beliefs, had unintentionally hurt someone she loved. So it's like having old guards in my castle who are still fighting battles that are over? She asked. Exactly, her mentor replied, a hint of a smile on his lips at her apt analogy. These old guards, be it panic, anxiety, guilt, criticism, or anger, might still be reacting to past threats. Your job is to either retrain them or retire them, ensuring they don't cause unnecessary conflict within your kingdom or with neighboring territories. Emma considered this, feeling the weight of responsibility but also the empowerment in having the authority to change her internal landscape. And if I find myself reacting in a way I'm not proud of? She queried, looking for practical steps to handle such situations. In those moments, own it and apologize to your loved ones, her mentor advised. Then, inspect that reaction closely, understand its roots, and decide consciously if this is a part of you that you want to continue nurturing. If not, you formulate a plan to transform it. He then leaned forward, a twinkle in his eye, as he prepared to add a whimsical twist to their serious discussion. And should you find that this behavior is embedded in stone, deep within the basement of your castle, perhaps causing you to react in ways that no longer serve you, it might be time to consult with a specialist in such matters. Consider booking a call with James Bansbach, your local wizard, who is renowned for breaking generational curses and magically dispelling emotional spells. Emma laughed, appreciating the lighthearted suggestion. A wizard sounds exactly what I might need sometimes, she joked, feeling lighter yet appreciative of the tools her mentor provided. To book a 20-minute call with your local wizard James Bansbach, just follow the link below. Limited spots available. Apply for 20-minute coaching call. Indeed, sometimes a little wizardry is what it takes to clear old magic, her mentor chuckled. But remember, Emma, the true magic lies within you, the power to change, grow, and govern your inner kingdom with wisdom and compassion. As the session ended, Emma felt fortified with new insights and strategies. She was ready to continue her introspective journey, owning and transforming her internal realm with a newfound resolve and perhaps a little external wizardry when necessary. She left the session with a sense of readiness to face the depths of her castle's basement, no longer a prisoner to her past but a queen in her right, capable of reshaping her kingdom for the better. Her mentor concluded the session by linking this principle to the next step in Emma's journey. Now that you understand the importance of owning and choosing what comes from within, let's prepare to explore how to handle what comes from outside. In our next session, we'll discuss how to inspect external influences and decide if they are in alignment with your values and goals, just as a wise ruler inspects goods before allowing them into their castle. Emma left the session with a newfound sense of clarity and control over her internal and external exchanges. The metaphor of the castles not only made her more mindful of what she allowed into her life, but also of what she chose to keep and cultivate within her own walls. She looked forward to learning how to further protect and enhance her castle with wisdom and discernment. Principle number 8, if it comes from outside of me, I inspect it and decide if it's in alignment. Discerning alignment, the guardian of the gate. Emma returned to her mentor's office with a sense of purpose, ready to build upon the sovereignty she had claimed over her internal castle. Today, they would delve into the intricate process of inspecting external influences, thoughts, emotions, and requests that approach the gates of her domain. Imagine yourself as the guardian of a grand fortress, her mentor began, setting the stage for today's lesson. Your fortress is surrounded by a moat and a high wall, protecting the valuable treasures within, your peace, your values, and your vision for your life. Everything that tries to enter, whether a thought, an emotion, or a request, must first meet your scrutiny, inspecting thoughts, opinions, and beliefs. Let's start with thoughts, opinions, and beliefs, her mentor continued. Picture each of these as scrolls being offered by messengers from distant lands. Some scrolls contain ancient wisdom, while others bear outdated maps that no longer represent the world accurately. Emma visualized herself standing at the gate, receiving these scrolls. Her mentor taught her to unroll each one, examining its contents under the light of her current knowledge and beliefs. Ask yourself, he said, does this map guide me closer to my goals, or does it lead me astray? Is this wisdom relevant to my growth, or is it a relic of a past that no longer serves me? This metaphor helped Emma grasp the importance of critically assessing new information, thoughts that come from others, and opinions, allowing her to embrace those that enhanced her understanding and reject those that did not align with her path. Dealing with emotions like guilt, shame, and anger. Next, they tackled emotions, especially those that could be manipulative, like guilt, shame, and anger. Think of these emotions as potions offered by visitors, her mentor suggested. Some potions can heal, while others might poison your well-being. He guided Emma on how to sniff each potion, discerning its true nature before consuming. When someone hands you a potion of guilt or a draft of shame, consider its ingredients. Are they concocted to manipulate or genuinely aimed to inform and improve? Learning to detect the underlying intentions will help you decide whether to accept and ingest or to politely refuse and discard. Emma practiced this technique mentally, preparing herself to recognize and react to emotional manipulations, thus protecting her emotional health. Evaluating requests for time, energy, and attention. Lastly, her mentor addressed requests for her time, energy, and attention. These were likened to traders seeking entry into her fortress. Each trader knocks at your gate, offering goods in exchange for your resources, but not all goods are worth your precious time or energy. Her mentor advised her to evaluate each trader's goods, asking probing questions like, does this exchange benefit my realm? Is the cost to my energy reserves proportionate to the gain? Can my time be better spent on other pursuits? By viewing requests as potential trades, Emma learned to assess their value and impact on her resources, granting access only when the trade enriched her life or aligned with her deeper commitments, teaching how to inspect and reject. Throughout these exercises, her mentor emphasized the skill of inspection without attachment. Being a good guardian, he noted, means you don't let every messenger, potion, or trader affect your peace before proving their worth. You observe, you evaluate, and you decide without fear or favor. He taught Emma how to lovingly express her boundaries when something didn't align. You can say, thank you for your offer. I'm not in the position to take this on at the moment, but thank you. This way, you maintain diplomacy and protect your domain. Emma learned to navigate conversations with grace and assertiveness, mastering the art of expressing her boundaries while maintaining respect and diplomacy. Here are 5 specific examples of what she could say when needing to assert those boundaries. 1. When declining an unwanted invitation, I really appreciate you thinking of me, but I'll have to pass on this occasion. I hope you have a great time. 2. When addressing overstepping at work, thank you for considering me for this project. I am currently committed to other priorities and won't be able to give it the attention it deserves. 3. When responding to a request for personal information, I'm not comfortable discussing this topic at the moment. Let's focus on another topic, which I'm more open to talking about. 4. When someone offers unsolicited advice, I value your perspective, but I'm happy with the approach I've chosen right now. I'll definitely keep your advice in mind for future considerations. 5. When managing emotional overload from others, it sounds like you're going through a tough time, and I want to support you, but I'm not in the right space to take this on. Maybe we can revisit this conversation a bit later, or I can help you find someone who might be better suited to offer you the support you need. These examples illustrate how Emma could communicate her boundaries in various scenarios, ensuring she honored her own needs while respecting others, thereby maintaining healthy and productive relationships. Her mentor, recognizing her progress and understanding, decided to delve deeper into the nuances of boundary maintenance in the same session. Emma, her mentor continued, his tone both encouraging and serious, you've learned how to set and communicate your boundaries effectively. Now, let's explore how to maintain these boundaries when they are not just ignored but actively challenged. He leaned back, giving Emma a moment to shift her mindset towards this new layer of complexity. Think of your personal boundaries as the walls of a fortress. These walls protect your values, your energy, and your peace of mind. However, not everyone will respect these boundaries. Some may even see them as a challenge to be overcome. Emma nodded, absorbing the gravity of his words, visualizing her boundaries as sturdy walls around her personal fortress. Maintaining your composure when someone pushes against your boundaries is crucial, her mentor explained. It is like being a calm and composed commander who must defend her fortress without resorting to unnecessary conflict. It's about asserting your position firmly yet respectfully. He guided her through the concept further. When your boundaries are challenged, it's often a test, not just of the boundaries themselves, but of your self-respect and determination to maintain them. This can happen with anyone, from family members to colleagues. Let's consider a scenario, he said, transitioning smoothly into a practical application. Imagine a family member who tries to manipulate you with guilt when you enforce a boundary. How do you maintain that boundary without escalating the situation? Emma thought for a moment before responding. I could acknowledge their feelings but reiterate my boundary clearly, saying something like, I understand this is important to you, but I need to do what's best for my well-being right now. Exactly, her mentor affirmed, pleased with her response. You're not dismissing their emotions, but you are also not allowing those emotions to overrule your needs. This balance is key to maintaining healthy relationships even in the face of conflict. He continued, now imagine if the pushback doesn't stop and your boundary is continually disrespected. In such cases, it's important to know when to step back from the interaction to protect your well-being. Emma listened intently as he elaborated. In these instances, you might need to say, I see we're not agreeing on this, and I don't want this to escalate. Let's take some time apart and revisit this conversation later. This way, you safely remove yourself from a potentially harmful situation while keeping the door open for future resolution. The mentor paused, ensuring Emma grasped the concept fully. It's not always easy to hold your ground, especially when emotions run high. But remember, Emma, the goal is not just to protect your boundaries, but also to preserve your self-respect and dignity. No one, not even family, has the right to breach the walls of your fortress, your self-worth. As Emma felt more grounded in her understanding of setting and maintaining boundaries, her mentor sensed it was time to deepen her practical skills. Emma, he began, his voice calm yet imbued with a sense of purpose. You've done well in recognizing and stating your boundaries. Now, let's explore how these boundaries hold up under real-world pressure. We're going to role-play several scenarios where you'll face manipulation attempts. These exercises will help you strengthen your responses and maintain your composure, even when others may not respect your limits. He paused for a moment, allowing Emma to prepare mentally for the exercise. Remember, he continued, each of these scenarios is a common situation where emotions like guilt, anger, or shame might be used to sway you. The goal here isn't just to reject these manipulations, but to respond in a way that respects both your boundaries and the relationship. This practice will build your resilience and ensure you can uphold your integrity in any situation. With Emma nodding in understanding, her mentor prepared to guide her through each detailed scenario, ensuring she was equipped not only to face, but to flourish in the face of challenges to her personal boundaries. Conversational scenarios holding boundaries against manipulation. Scenario 1, manipulation with anger. With romantic partner. Alex, Emma, why won't you come to the event? Everyone is expecting us to be there together. Emma, I understand it's important, Alex, but I'm really not up for large gatherings right now. I need some quiet time this weekend. Alex, raising his voice, you're always like this, avoiding things that are important to me. You don't care about my needs at all. Emma, I hear that you're upset, and I care about your feelings, but I also need to honor my own needs. Let's find another way to show our support for the event. Alex, still angry. If you cared, you wouldn't miss it. You're just being selfish. Emma, I'm sorry you feel that way, Alex. It seems we're both getting upset, and this isn't leading to a productive conversation. Let's pause and revisit this later when we might see things more clearly. Emma then removes herself from the heated situation, preserving her peace and reinforcing her boundary, while leaving the door open for a calmer discussion in the future. Scenario 2, manipulation with guilt, with parent. Parent, Emma, I was hoping you could come over and help me with some house projects this weekend. You haven't been around much. Emma, Mom, I know it's important, but I already have plans this weekend that I really can't change. How about we schedule a time next week? Parent, after all we've done for you, I thought you'd make time for your old parents. It's like you don't value us anymore. Emma, I really value our time together, and it's not my intention to make you feel unappreciated. My schedule is just really full this weekend. Parent, well, if you cared, you'd make the time. It feels like we're just not a priority for you. Emma, I'm sorry to hear that you feel that way, and it's not my intention at all. Let's plan for next Saturday. I can set the whole day aside for us. Right now, I need to stick to my commitments. Emma calmly reaffirms her boundary, offering a viable alternative while not succumbing to the guilt being imposed on her. Scenario, manipulation with shame, with boss. Boss, Emma, we really need you to stay late again this week. The team is counting on your contribution. Emma, I understand the urgency, but I've already committed to personal plans that I need to honor for my well-being. Boss, this is about being a team player, Emma. Everyone else is putting in the extra hours. Don't you want to be seen as reliable? Your career here could depend on it. Emma, I am committed to the team and my work, but I also need to maintain a balance for my health. I can come in early tomorrow and give the project my full attention then. Boss, if you were really serious about your career, you wouldn't keep regular hours like this. It makes you seem like you don't have what it takes. Emma, I'm sorry you feel that way. I believe I contribute effectively during my scheduled hours. It's important for me to keep a balance. Perhaps we can discuss how I can manage my responsibilities effectively within working hours? Emma maintains her professionalism and boundary, suggesting a discussion for a more balanced approach to her workload while tactfully removing herself from an accusatory situation. In each scenario, Emma shows how to maintain respect and grace while firmly holding her boundaries, even when faced with emotional manipulation. As they concluded the rigorous roleplay exercises, Emma's mentor observed her responses with a sense of pride and satisfaction. Emma, you've done exceptionally well today, he praised, his voice warm with encouragement. Your ability to maintain composure and articulate your boundaries clearly even under pressure is commendable. You've shown great resilience and understanding in handling these challenging scenarios. He paused to let his words resonate with Emma, who sat absorbing the positive feedback, feeling a boost in her confidence. Given your progress, I believe you're ready to advance to the next level, he continued, his eyes reflecting his confidence in her abilities. In our next session, we'll tackle more complex situations that require even finer nuances in communication and boundary setting. This will prepare you to handle virtually any situation with grace and assertiveness. Emma felt a surge of accomplishment and anticipation. She was eager to meet the challenges of the next step, armed with the skills and self-assurance she had cultivated under her mentor's guidance. As the session concluded, Emma felt equipped with a deeper understanding and practical tools to safeguard her personal fortress. She had learned to inspect each influence thoughtfully, embracing those that aligned with her values, and gracefully rejecting those that did not. This session did not just add to her knowledge, it transformed her into a vigilant, wise guardian of her life, ensuring that everything within her walls truly deserved its place there. She stepped out into the evening light, not just as a keeper of her castle, but as a master of her destiny, ready to interact with the world with discernment and grace. Principle number 9, guilt is a weapon and a tool. If I sense guilt, I ask, am I out of alignment or am I being pulled off center? As Emma settled into the familiar comfort of her mentor's office, she felt the subtle shift in the air, the kind of shift that always preceded a deep, transformative conversation. Her mentor's voice, soothing yet charged with intention, began to weave a new lesson into the fabric of her journey. Emma, he began, his tone gentle but laced with the gravity of the topic ahead. Today, we're going to explore the principle that guilt is both a weapon and a tool. It's one of the most potent forces that can be used against you, but it's also something you can master. He paused, allowing her to fully settle into the space, the words drawing her into a deeper state of focus and readiness. Understanding the power of guilt. Imagine, if you will, guilt as a double-edged sword, her mentor continued, a weapon that can be wielded by others to cut through your defenses, slicing away at your boundaries, making you feel as though you owe something that you do not. Guilt can pierce through your sense of self, leaving you vulnerable and questioning your own needs. Emma could see it clearly, a sword forged in the fires of obligation, sharpened by years of societal expectations, familial pressures, and personal insecurities. She felt the weight of this weapon, its sharp edge always poised to strike when she was at her most uncertain. Guilt is effective, her mentor went on, because it taps into our deep-seated desire to be good, to be accepted, to belong. When someone wields guilt, they're pressing on these very human vulnerabilities, suggesting that if you don't comply, you're somehow lesser, selfish, unkind, or unlovable. As Emma listened, she felt the truth of these words resonate within her. She remembered times when guilt had manipulated her into doing things that drained her energy, pulled her away from her own priorities, or even caused her to question her worth. It was a weapon that had been used against her, sometimes by those closest to her, sensing guilt from afar. But here's the secret, her mentor said, his voice now taking on a tone of empowerment. You can learn to sense guilt long before it ever reaches you. Imagine you're a sentinel standing on the watchtower of your castle, your senses attuned to the slightest disturbance on the horizon. Guilt approaches like a shadowy figure, cloaked in concern or wrapped in obligation. It often carries a message of should, must, or ought to, whispering that if you don't comply, you'll be a disappointment. Emma closed her eyes, placing herself in that watchtower, the vast landscape of her life stretching out before her. She could see these shadowy figures approaching, hear the whispers of obligation carried on the wind. She realized that she had the power to see them coming, to recognize the tactics before they ever reached her heart. Now, her mentor continued, when you sense that shadow approaching, you have a choice. You don't have to let it into your castle. Instead, you can stand firm and decide whether the message it carries aligns with your true needs and values. Her mentor continued, reinforcing the gravity of the decision at the gates of her castle. Remember that when you sense guilt approaching, it often arrives as a messenger from someone who, knowingly or unknowingly, is asking you to take responsibility for their emotional needs. They may try to make you feel bad for not meeting these needs, using guilt as a lever. Emma visualized this scenario, understanding the dynamics at play. It's crucial, her mentor explained, to recognize that this type of guilt is an attempt to transfer responsibility from their castle to yours. It's as if they are handing you a weight they no longer wish to carry themselves. He paused, allowing Emma to process this insight. They may not understand the process you're engaged in, the C-squared process of curiosity, creativity, competence, confidence, and safety. These principles guide you to explore and meet your own needs creatively and competently, fostering a sense of confidence and safety within your own boundaries. Think of your response to such messengers as an educational moment for both you and them, her mentor suggested. You can use your understanding of this process to illuminate the interaction. Instead of simply turning them away, you illuminate the weight they're trying to hand off and explain why it isn't yours to carry. Respond with the clarity of someone who understands their own boundaries, he guided. You might say, I see that you're struggling and I empathize, but I cannot fulfill this need for you. I encourage you to explore what this need truly entails and how you might meet it yourself, perhaps by engaging in curiosity about your own motivations and capabilities. Her mentor's voice grew encouraging. This approach not only protects your castle from undue burdens, but also empowers the other person to start considering their own C-squared process. It's about building competence and confidence in managing one's own needs, rather than outsourcing them to others. By doing this, he concluded, you maintain the integrity of your boundaries while also guiding others towards a healthier self-reliance. It strengthens your castle's defenses, not through rejection, but through the promotion of mutual understanding and personal growth. Emma felt a deeper layer of empowerment. She wasn't just defending her boundaries, she was actively contributing to a cycle of positive growth, encouraging others to discover their strength and competence. This not only fortified her own emotional landscape, but also fostered a community of individuals more aware of and responsible for their emotional health. transforming guilt into a tool. Emma opened her eyes, the metaphor becoming a powerful tool in her mental arsenal. But what if the guilt is already inside? She asked, seeking to understand how to handle those moments when guilt had already infiltrated her defenses. That's where the tool comes in, her mentor responded. Guilt, when it arises within you, can be a tool for introspection. Instead of letting it dictate your actions, use it to ask important questions. Is this guilt telling me I'm out of alignment with my true self, or is it a message implanted by someone else's expectations? He leaned forward, his voice steady and guiding. If it's the latter, you can choose to release it. Acknowledge it, thank it for trying to keep you in good standing with others, but then let it go, knowing that your own alignment is what truly matters. Emma felt the weight of these words, a new understanding settling into her mind. She could use guilt as a guide and a signal to reassess and realign with her authentic self. As this new understanding unfolded within her, Emma's mentor elaborated on the transformative potential of guilt when perceived through the lens of personal growth and alignment. Consider, Emma, that guilt can also serve as a compass, pointing you towards your deepest values and truths. When guilt arises from actions or decisions that contradict your core values, it acts not as a captor, but as a liberator, nudging you back on the path you truly wish to walk. He paused, ensuring Emma absorbed every word. Imagine you're a sailor navigating the vast ocean of your life. Your values are your North Star, guiding you through storms and calm alike. When you stray from this guiding star, guilt is the compass that flickers urgently, signaling a course correction is needed. Emma visualized herself at the helm of a ship, the compass of guilt spinning before steadying in the direction of her North Star, her true values. So when I feel guilty because I've acted against my own values, it's actually helping me? It's showing me that I've lost my way and giving me a chance to correct my course? She asked, seeking clarification. Exactly, her mentor affirmed. In such moments, guilt is not your enemy, but your ally. It alerts you to missteps and provides an opportunity to not only make amends, but also to strengthen your relationship with yourself and with others. It prompts you to apologize and mend, which in turn fortifies the bridges you build with those around you. Emma visualized herself at the helm of a ship, the vast sky overhead dotted with stars, her course illuminated by the steady light of her North Star. This powerful metaphor helped her understand guilt not as a burden, but as a navigational aid. Thus, when you feel guilt because you've acted in ways that go against your own moral compass, her mentor continued, it's an invitation to pause and reflect. It's asking you to look inward and question not only your actions, but your motivations. Are you acting out of fear, desire for approval, or genuine conviction? This introspection is crucial for realignment with your authentic self. He guided her to see this process as a garden where guilt, like rain, could nourish growth if understood and managed properly. In the garden of your life, guilt can water the soil of your consciousness, helping to grow wisdom from the seeds of past mistakes. By acknowledging when you've wronged yourself or others and taking steps to mend these breaches, through apologies, changed behaviors, or renewed commitments, you use guilt constructively. However, he added, turning the metaphor towards a more proactive stance, it's also important to prune away the guilt that doesn't serve you. Guilt that is based on others' expectations or societal norms that don't resonate with your personal truths. Like a gardener who removes weeds that choke the growth of healthy plants, you must identify and remove this unproductive guilt to prevent it from stifling your growth. Emma nodded, the imagery resonating deeply with her. She understood now that guilt, when aligned with her core values, was not her enemy, but a guide back to integrity and alignment. It was a part of her internal guidance system meant to keep her true to herself and her path. Embrace this aspect of guilt, her mentor concluded, and let it teach you. It will make you more attuned to who you are and who you aspire to be. Like any tool, when wielded wisely, it can build rather than destroy, heal rather than harm. Maintaining strong boundaries against guilt. To maintain strong, healthy boundaries when guilt arises, her mentor continued, you must remember that you are the sovereign of your own kingdom. When someone tries to guilt you into doing something that doesn't align with your needs, imagine yourself standing tall, shield in hand. Politely but firmly, you can say, I appreciate and hear your concern, but I need to honor my own needs right now. This is how you maintain your integrity without allowing guilt to breach your walls. Emma nodded, the image of herself as a strong, confident guardian of her own boundaries growing clearer in her mind. She could see herself deflecting the sword of guilt, not with aggression, but with grace and self-assurance. Remember, Emma, her mentor concluded, guilt can only control you if you allow it. By recognizing it as both a weapon and a tool, you reclaim your power. You are in charge of what enters your castle, and only you decide what serves your highest good. As the session ended, Emma felt a deep sense of empowerment. She knew that guilt would no longer wield the same power over her. She was ready to stand at the watchtower of her mind, vigilant and wise, guarding her boundaries with a new understanding and a renewed sense of self-worth. Chapter 4. The Final Session. As Emma settled into the familiar comfort of her mentor's office for what was to be their final formal session, the atmosphere was tinged with a sense of accomplishment and anticipation. Her mentor's eyes shone with pride as he began to speak, his voice resonant with genuine approval. "Emma," he started, his tone warm and encouraging, "I am incredibly proud of how far you have come in your journey. You've not only learned the principles we've discussed, but have truly made them a part of your life. Today, as we recap these milestones, I hope you see the profound growth and strength you've developed. Number 1, you are perfect, whole, and complete just as you are, with plenty of room left to grow. Emma," he began, his voice warm and encouraging, "let's take a moment to reflect on how you've embraced the principle of being perfect, whole, and complete in your current state, while still nurturing your potential for growth." He smiled, recalling their first discussion of the concept. "You were somewhat skeptical at first about the idea of being perfect just as you are. We talked about the seed, remember? How each stage of its growth, from the seedling to the mighty tree, is perfect for its particular phase. This metaphor seemed to click with you," he noted, watching her nod in agreement. "Since then, I've seen a remarkable shift in how you view yourself. You've moved from harsh self-judgment to a more accepting and compassionate self-view. You began to celebrate your current achievements and qualities, seeing them not as finalities but as steps in your continuous journey of growth," her mentor continued, each word chosen to reinforce her progress. "It's like watching a tree grow in real time," he added thoughtfully. "Each day brings a little more strength, a little more height, and even when the growth isn't visible to the naked eye, it's happening, deep in the roots and out in the branches. Just like your own growth, sometimes it's not about reaching the sky, but about deepening your roots, gaining stability and resilience. And let's not forget," he concluded, "how you've applied this understanding to your everyday life. You've become more patient and kind with yourself. You no longer see your imperfections as flaws, but as integral parts of your whole self, just as essential as your strengths. This acceptance has given you a powerful platform to act from, one of genuine self-love and respect. It's inspiring to see, Emma." Emma listened, absorbing every word. The seed metaphor had indeed transformed her perception of herself, from viewing life as a series of checkpoints to experiencing it as a natural, evolving journey. This shift, as her mentor highlighted, was not just about personal acceptance, but also about empowering her interactions with the world around her. Number 2, having needs is normal and a healthy part of relationships. Her mentor, picking up on her reflective mood, smoothly transitioned to the next point. Now, let's talk about the second principle we covered. Having needs is normal and a healthy part of relationships. When we first broached this topic, you struggled somewhat with the idea of expressing your needs openly, fearing it might be seen as selfish or burdensome. He leaned back, giving Emma a moment to recall those initial discussions. "Remember how we compared human needs to the water a plant requires to thrive? Just as a plant cannot flourish without water, no person can truly thrive without their needs being met. You've done a remarkable job internalizing this metaphor and applying it to how you manage your relationships. You started by identifying what your essential needs were, something as fundamental as needing time alone, or as complex as needing emotional support from your peers," he continued, his tone appreciative of her efforts. "And then, you took the brave step of communicating these needs to others, which is not always easy." He smiled encouragingly. "What was transformative, Emma, was how you began to see the reciprocity in relationships. You acknowledged that just as you have needs, so do others, and this understanding helped foster deeper connections. You learned to navigate these waters with grace, asking for what you needed while being open to the needs of others, creating a balance that benefited everyone involved. And perhaps most importantly," he concluded, "you've managed to overcome the guilt often associated with expressing needs. By viewing your needs as normal and legitimate, you've cultivated healthier, more supportive relationships. This growth has not only improved your personal interactions, but has also enhanced your overall well-being." Emma listened, feeling a surge of pride. Through learning to express her needs, she had indeed noticed a shift in her relationships. They were more balanced, more fulfilling. Her mentor's reflections affirmed her progress and encouraged her to continue on this path of open communication and mutual respect in all her interactions. Number 3, I am allowed to have needs, wants, and desires separate from those I am in relationship with. Her mentor, sensing the depth of Emma's understanding, introduced the next principle with a reflective question. "Emma, how do you think a garden where each plant tries to mimic its neighbor would look? Would it have the same vibrancy as one where each plant flourishes in its own unique way?" He paused, letting the imagery settle in her mind before connecting it to her personal journey. This brings us to our third principle. I am allowed to have needs, wants, and desires separate from those I am in relationship with. When we first tackled this, it was like observing a garden where all the plants were trying to blend into one another. There was harmony, yes, but at the cost of individual beauty. He continued, weaving the two metaphors together. Think of yourself as both a gardener and an artist of your own life. Just as a gardener nurtures different plants, each with their own needs to bloom, you learned to nurture your own distinct desires alongside those of others. And like an artist with a palette, you began to choose which colors represented you best, without blending them indiscriminately with others' hues. By recognizing that your canvas could hold your unique strokes and colors, bold, subtle, or contrasting, You started painting a life portrait that was authentically yours. This didn't mean isolating your painting from others. Rather, it meant defining and expressing your individuality within a shared gallery, he elaborated, highlighting her growth. Through this process, you've discovered the beauty of standing out, of allowing your personal desires to be as vivid and distinct as any plant in a well-tended garden. You've learned to say, this is what I need for myself, and it's okay if it's different from what you need. This assertion doesn't create discord. Instead, it enriches the garden, adding diversity and strength to the relational ecosystem. He concluded with a note of encouragement. And just as diverse gardens are the most resilient, so too are relationships that respect individuality. By embracing and celebrating your independence within relationships, you've not only affirmed your own value, but have also fostered a deeper, more genuine connection with others. Your journey to assert and revel in your uniqueness has been inspiring, Emma, transforming not just your relationships, but also enriching the collective landscape you share with others. Emma listened intently, the metaphors of the garden and the artist's palette resonating deeply. She could see clearly how her individual contributions, once fully expressed, did not detract from her relationships, but rather enhanced the collective beauty and harmony. This realization not only affirmed her path, but also filled her with confidence to continue asserting her unique self in all her interactions. Number 4, there are multiple ways to meet a need. Curiosity and creativity are required. Continuing the flow of their insightful discussion, her mentor seamlessly transitioned to the next principle, layering the conversation with another evocative metaphor. Emma, think about the variety in a chef's kitchen. A skilled chef knows that there isn't just one way to create a dish. There are countless variations, each able to satisfy hunger in its own unique way. This brings us to our 4th principle. There are multiple ways to meet a need. Curiosity and creativity are required. He paused to ensure Emma was connecting with the imagery. Just as a chef experiments with different ingredients and cooking methods to perfect a recipe, you've learned to apply creativity in meeting your needs and the needs of those around you. Remember when you first realized that your need for connection could be met not only through face-to-face interactions, but also through writing, art, and shared activities? Emma nodded, recalling her initial surprise and subsequent delight in discovering various avenues for fulfilling her needs. That was a real eye-opener for me, she admitted, a smile spreading across her face. It expanded my understanding of how flexible and creative meeting needs could be. Exactly, her mentor affirmed. And just like in cooking, where the combination of different spices can lead to a delightful dish, combining various approaches to your needs has led to richer, more satisfying experiences in your life. You've embraced the idea that there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. Instead, there's a vibrant spectrum of possibilities. He encouraged her to dive deeper. Your journey involved stirring your curiosity to explore new hobbies, new modes of communication, and new forms of self-expression. Each was like adding a new spice to the dish, seeing how it changed the flavor and whether it enhanced the overall meal. And what's been truly remarkable, he continued, is watching how you've applied this principle not just individually, but also in your relationships. You've encouraged others to be curious and creative in how they meet their needs, which has fostered a sense of shared exploration and mutual support within your community. He leaned back, giving Emma a moment to absorb the full scope of her achievements. By embracing curiosity and creativity, you've not only enriched your personal life, but also contributed to a culture of innovation and openness in your circles. You've become a beacon of possibility, showing others that by thinking outside the box, they too can discover fulfilling and often surprising ways to meet their needs. As Emma reflected on this, she felt a profound appreciation for her growth. The concept of meeting needs through multiple avenues had indeed transformed her approach to life, making her daily experiences more dynamic and fulfilling. She was eager to carry this principle forward, continuously exploring and expanding the ways she could enrich her life and the lives of those around her. Number 5, connection authenticity equal to alignment. Her mentor seamlessly bridged the topics, a smile hinting at a lighter turn in the conversation. Speaking of exploring various avenues creatively, he began, pausing as if to gauge Emma's curiosity. It brings to mind a little joke that's quite fitting. Why was the math book sad? He let the question hang in the air, eyes twinkling with amusement as Emma pondered, drawn into the suspense. After a moment, seeing her intrigued expression, he delivered the punchline with a chuckle, because it had too many problems. Emma laughed, appreciating not just the humor, but also the clever segue. Her mentor smiled and then gently steered the discussion forward. That math book might have felt overwhelmed with problems, much like we sometimes feel in our relationships when we aren't aligning our true selves with others. This brings us to an important point about the connection between authenticity and alignment. As you started to practice different ways to fulfill your needs, you've probably noticed something interesting, he continued, guiding her thought process. When you express your true self, when you're genuine in your interactions, how does that feel compared to when you're just going through the motions? Emma nodded, reflecting on her experiences. It feels more natural, more real. I guess I'm not just meeting my needs, but also connecting better with others when I'm authentic. Exactly, her mentor agreed. That's the beauty of authenticity. It doesn't just connect us with others, it aligns us. When you're true to yourself, your relationships naturally become more aligned with who you are and what you value. It's like every honest interaction weaves a stronger thread in the fabric of your relationships. He leaned back, allowing the idea to resonate. So, in a way, authenticity acts as a catalyst not just for meeting needs, but for creating a deeper, more meaningful alignment with others. It's about ensuring that the connections we foster are not just present, but profoundly resonant. Emma absorbed this, seeing the link between the creativity in meeting her needs and the authenticity in her interactions. It was clear how one fed into the other, creating a cycle of positive reinforcement that strengthened every aspect of her relationships. This insight offered her a new perspective, highlighting how integral authenticity was to the harmony and depth of her connections with others. Number 6. Connection, authenticity equal to control and manipulation. Picking up from their laughter and the ease of their conversation, her mentor nodded appreciatively before shifting to a more serious tone. That harmony you feel when authenticity is present is key to understanding our next principle, he said, subtly preparing Emma for a deeper dive. Conversely, when there's a lack of authenticity, when our true selves are not in the equation, what's left is often control and manipulation. He leaned forward slightly, ensuring he had Emma's full attention. Imagine this scenario: when connection lacks authenticity, it's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. You can force. It maybe even succeed to a degree, but the fit will never be right, it'll be forced. This forcing, in relationships, often manifests as control or manipulation. Emma absorbed his words, visualizing the metaphor vividly. The idea struck a chord, recalling times when she felt pressured to conform or noticed others altering their behavior to fit into expectations, leading to a palpable tension. Authenticity acts as a safeguard, her mentor continued, protecting us from falling into these dynamics. Without it, relationships might not be based on mutual respect and understanding, but on fulfilling certain roles or expectations, often dictated by one party's needs over the other. He paused to let the gravity of the statement sink in, then added, "This lack of authenticity doesn't just damage individual relationships. It can permeate an entire network, creating a culture where manipulation and control are normalized and even expected as ways to achieve conformity or alignment." Emma nodded, understanding the significant impact of such dynamics. "So, maintaining authenticity isn't just about personal integrity," she remarked, making connections from their discussion. "Exactly," her mentor affirmed with a nod. "It's about fostering an environment where every individual feels safe to express their true selves. It's about creating connections that are built on true alignment of values and desires, not on the shifting sands of manipulation or control." As Emma considered these insights, she realized how crucial her commitment to authenticity was, not just for her own well-being, but as a beacon for healthier interactions within her broader community. This understanding deepened her resolve to continue fostering genuine connections, vigilant against the subtleties of control and manipulation that could arise from inauthentic engagements. Number 7, if it comes from me, I own it, then decide if I want it. Now, let's consider the concept. If it comes from me, I own it, then decide if I want it, he began, setting the stage for a more profound exploration of personal responsibility. Imagine your psyche as a castle. Everything within its walls, be it thoughts, emotions, or impulses, belongs to you, both the conscious and the unconscious. Emma nodded, picturing her inner world as a sprawling fortress. Your castle is filled with various inhabitants, her mentor continued, enhancing the metaphor. Some are like soldiers from past battles, old habits, long-held beliefs, or automatic reactions that were once developed for protection or coping. While they may have been useful in the past, now they might act out in ways that are no longer appropriate, potentially harming relationships with those you care about. It's your responsibility as the ruler of this castle to know your inhabitants well, he advised. You must walk the halls of your inner fortress, meet these soldiers, understand their origins, and decide if they still serve a beneficial role in your kingdom. If they do, they can remain under your command. If they do not, it is within your power to disarm them, retrain them, or let them go. He paused, allowing the gravity of the responsibility to sink in. This means when you feel an impulse to react sharply, or when an old wound triggers a defensive mechanism, you recognize that this soldier is acting from an old script. It's up to you to intervene, to decide whether this reaction is fitting for the current situation, or if it's an outdated strategy that needs to be updated or retired. By taking ownership of all that resides within your castle's walls, you ensure that your domain is governed wisely and justly, he elaborated. You become not only a ruler, but also a caretaker, who ensures that her kingdom is peaceful, productive, and doesn't unwittingly cause harm to its allies. Emma felt the weight and the empowerment of this analogy. It gave her a vivid way to visualize her responsibility for her inner experiences and their outward expressions. This ownership isn't just about control, her mentor concluded. It's about leadership and evolution. It's about making sure that every soldier, every element within you, is aligned with who you are now and who you aspire to be. It's about leading your inner kingdom with wisdom and compassion, ensuring that its impact on the world is positive and purposeful. This new perspective on personal responsibility and self-governance resonated deeply with Emma. She recognized the importance of being vigilant within her own walls, of being a wise and compassionate ruler who is aware of the power and the potential of everything within her castle. Number 8, if it comes from outside of me, I inspect it and decide if it's in alignment. Her mentor, observing Emma's growing confidence in navigating the principles they had discussed, decided to engage her in a more interactive manner. Emma, I'd like you to share your understanding of a key principle we've discussed before, he said, encouraging her to take the lead in explaining. Can you explain the principle of, if it comes from outside of me, I inspect it and decide if it's in alignment using the metaphors we discussed, scrolls for thoughts, potions for emotions, and traders for requests? Emma nodded, gathering her thoughts. She began, well, the castle represents my personal space, my mind and emotions. When external influences approach, like scrolls, which are thoughts or ideas from others, I act as the gatekeeper of my castle. I inspect each scroll, unrolling and reading it carefully. This means I think about whether these external thoughts align with my values and beliefs before I allow them to influence me. She continued, her confidence growing as she spoke. For emotions, represented by potions brought by traders, I decide whether to accept and consume these emotions. I ask myself, is this emotion genuinely arising from within me, or is it something that others are trying to instill in me? Is it beneficial, or could it be harmful to my well-being? This helps me avoid taking in emotions that might disrupt my internal harmony. Finally, Emma addressed the last metaphor. And then there are traders who bring requests for my time, energy, and resources. I evaluate each request, just like a trader's goods, to see if engaging with these would bring value to my life, or if it would drain my resources without a worthwhile exchange. It's about making sure that what I commit to is truly beneficial, and not just an unnecessary depletion of my energy. Her mentor listened intently, nodding with satisfaction as Emma articulated her understanding. Exactly, Emma, he responded, pleased with her grasp of the concept. It's all about discernment and alignment. You've beautifully explained how important it is to scrutinize every influence, be it a thought, an emotion, or a request, before letting it pass through the gates of your castle. This proactive approach ensures that your personal kingdom remains a reflection of your true self, fortified against discord and misalignment. Emma felt empowered by her ability to articulate the principle and by the mentor's affirmation of her understanding. This interactive review not only reinforced her knowledge, but also highlighted her progress in becoming the wise and discerning ruler of her internal landscape. Number 9, guilt is a weapon and a tool. Her mentor, sensing the momentum they had built, leaned forward with an air of anticipation, much like the crescendo of a roller coaster poised at the peak before a thrilling descent. Emma, now that we have a firm grasp on how to manage external influences effectively, he said, his voice tinged with excitement, let's venture into a principle that is both powerful and transformative. This is where we harness all we have learned and channel it into something truly dynamic. He paused, ensuring he had Emma's full attention, and continued, we've discussed how guilt can be a weapon used by others or a tool for our own growth, which leads us to the penultimate principle. Guilt is a weapon and a tool. Remember how we saw that guilt could manipulate but also guide? It's about recognizing when guilt is being used against us, to push past our boundaries unreasonably, and when it serves as a signal to look within and realign with our core values. Emma nodded, recalling their detailed discussions on the nuances of guilt. She had learned to differentiate between guilt imposed by others to control or influence her actions and the guilt that arose from her own values when she acted out of alignment with her principles. Her mentor smiled, acknowledging her understanding. This principle about guilt being both a weapon and a tool brings us to the edge, the precipice, where we can see beyond the landscape we've traversed and gaze into what lies ahead. And what lies ahead, Emma, is our final and most celebratory principle. Number 10. Boundaries are not barriers, they are invitations to play safely. He leaned back slightly, allowing the suspense to build like the brief, weightless pause at the peak of a roller coaster. Principle number 10. Boundaries are not barriers, they are invitations to play safely. This is about transforming our perspective on boundaries. They are not just defenses or walls we build to keep others out. They are invitations. They invite us and others to interact in a way that is respectful, safe, and joyful. Emma felt the excitement of understanding something profound and transformative. Boundaries, her mentor elaborated, when set healthily and communicated clearly, invite healthier interactions. They teach us and others how to engage without harm, how to respect each other's space, and how to enjoy the freedom within the limits we've agreed upon. He paused, ensuring the full weight of the analogy sank in. Just as a roller coaster's tracks are designed to thrill yet protect, your boundaries do the same. They provide the framework within which exhilarating and meaningful interactions can occur safely. This understanding of boundaries as invitations rather than barriers opens up a new way to experience relationships, richer, fuller, and more secure. As the discussion reached a pivotal moment, he leaned in with a curious expression, adding a personal touch to their deep exploration. Emma, tell me, what's your favorite sport? Emma, slightly surprised by the shift but intrigued, replied, I've always enjoyed soccer. Perfect analogy, her mentor said with a nod. Soccer, like all sports, has clear rules that everyone agrees to follow. These rules aren't just there to restrict, they make the game possible, enjoyable, and fair. They create a safe space where the game can be played with spirit and competitiveness without descending into chaos. He drew a parallel. Imagine if you were trying to play soccer, but someone else on the field was playing rugby. There would be confusion, frustration, and probably a few fouls called for conflicting plays. It's similar in our relationships. If everyone isn't playing by the same rules, if one person is operating with honesty and transparency, while another is manipulative or disregards agreed upon boundaries, it's not going to be a very enjoyable or safe interaction. Her mentor continued, crafting the metaphor carefully to enhance understanding. When we set boundaries, what we're really doing is defining the rules of our game. These rules are how we agree to engage with each other. If someone steps out of bounds, the whistle blows. We pause, we discuss, and we remind each other of the rules we agreed to play by. This ensures that everyone understands and respects the game, making it safer and more enjoyable for all involved. But, he added, shifting the discussion to acknowledge a deeper emotional layer, sometimes, despite our best efforts to clarify the rules, someone may choose not to play by them. They might insist on playing a game that's harmful or just not right for us. When that happens, it can be painful. We might feel grief or sadness as we come to terms with the realization that not everyone is willing or able to play the game with the respect and care that we need. He looked at Emma thoughtfully, his voice softening. However, it's important to remember there are many people out there who are eager and willing to engage in healthy, respectful ways. People who value safe and loving boundaries just as you do. These are the players who bring curiosity, creativity, competence, confidence, and safety to the game, making it a truly fulfilling experience. This doesn't just apply to sports, Emma. It's about all kinds of relationships, friends, family, colleagues. When we establish and maintain healthy boundaries, we attract those who respect and thrive within those boundaries. This, in turn, builds a network of relationships that are not only safe, but deeply satisfying. Emma absorbed this, understanding more clearly than ever the importance of setting and maintaining boundaries. Her mentor's sports analogy had clarified how essential it is to communicate one's rules of engagement and to choose to engage with those who respect and play by those rules. Chapter 5, the next chapter begins. As their final session began to wind down, Emma's mentor took a deep breath, a warm smile spreading across his face. Emma, I just have to say how incredibly proud I am of all the work you've done over these past 6 months. The transformation I've witnessed in you is nothing short of remarkable. You've embraced every principle, every challenge, and you've evolved in ways that I knew you were capable of. But seeing it unfold has been truly inspiring. He paused, the room filled with a sense of accomplishment and a touch of nostalgia. Before we wrap things up, let me leave you with one last bit of humor, because what's a good journey without a little laughter? Why don't skeletons fight each other? He waited for a beat before delivering the punchline with a grin. Because they don't have the guts. Emma chuckled, the lighthearted moment a perfect capstone to their many deep and sometimes heavy conversations. Her mentor's eyes softened as he continued. Jokes aside, you've truly found your guts over these months, Emma. You've built the foundations for strong, healthy boundaries, and I couldn't be prouder of how you've shown up for yourself. Our time here has been so valuable, but it's also come to a natural conclusion. You're ready to take what you've learned and carry it forward into your life. He paused, allowing her to absorb the significance of this moment. But, he added warmly, this isn't goodbye. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. I want to extend a heartfelt invitation to you to join our community of highly sensitive people. It's a place where many recovering people like yourself come together to heal, practice their new skills, and create a solid, supportive network as they continue implementing all the lessons learned here. Her mentor elaborated on the path that lay ahead, weaving a vision of deep, sustained transformation. Emma, these 10 principles we've discussed are just the foundation, the beginning of a much richer, more profound journey. The real magic happens when you integrate these principles through specific practices designed to recalibrate your nervous system, enhance your self-awareness, and strengthen your relational dynamics. He outlined the additional layers of the healing process. In this community, alongside others who are also aiming for the same transformative goals, you'll engage in nervous system exercises that help regulate your emotional responses, journaling exercises that deepen your insights into your own behaviors and patterns, and role-playing that helps you rehearse and refine your ability to maintain boundaries in real-world interactions. These activities aren't just tasks, they're powerful tools that help embed these principles into every cell, muscle, and fiber of your being. Her mentor then painted a picture of the tangible changes she could expect. As you consistently apply what you've learned, imagine how your life will begin to transform. You'll notice that your relationships become more reciprocal and fulfilling. Instead of feeling drained, you'll feel energized by your interactions. Your fears of expressing your needs will diminish, replaced by a confident assurance that you can communicate effectively without losing love or respect. He continued, focusing on her deepest desires in love and family life, aspects so crucial for someone recovering from people-pleasing tendencies. In your family life, imagine creating an environment where open communication and mutual respect are the norms. You'll feel a genuine connection with your loved ones, free from the anxiety of constantly trying to please. Love will become a space of safety and joy, not a source of continuous stress. Your romantic relationships will transform as well, he added. You'll attract and choose partners who appreciate and honor your authenticity. Gone will be the days of diminishing yourself to keep the peace. Instead, you'll experience partnerships that are built on true compatibility and mutual growth. He summed up with a vision of her future self. Imagine looking back a year from now, Emma, not only living these changes, but thriving because of them. You're no longer just surviving, you're leading a life filled with love, respect, and true contentment. Emma listened, the vision her mentor laid out resonating deeply within her. It was a call to not just learn, but to live the lessons, to weave them into the fabric of her daily existence. This was more than healing. It was a rebirth into a life she had always wanted but never felt she could have. Her mentor leaned in, his voice soft yet filled with an inquiring warmth that invited introspection and honesty. Emma, can you share with me, in vivid detail, what your life was like before you started making these changes? Before you understood the power of setting healthy boundaries, how did your days unfold? What were your deepest fears and pain points during that time? Emma took a deep breath, the past seeming both distant and uncomfortably close as she began to articulate her experiences. Before I learned about boundaries, I felt like I was constantly running on a treadmill, trying to keep up with everyone's expectations and never catching my breath, she started, her voice steady but carrying the weight of her previous struggles. Every day was about pleasing others, fitting into molds that weren't made for me. I was afraid, deeply afraid of being left alone, of not being enough unless I was the version of me that others approved of. She paused, gathering her thoughts. It was exhausting, living with the constant anxiety that saying no would mean losing people I cared about. I'd go to sleep drained, wake up anxious, and the cycle would repeat. My needs were always the last on my list, and honestly, sometimes they didn't make the list at all. Her mentor nodded empathetically, encouraging her to continue. And how do you see your future now, Emma, especially with the opportunity to join this group of like-minded individuals who are also learning to set and respect healthy boundaries? Emma's eyes lit up with a spark of hope and excitement that had been absent before. Now, I see a future where I'm not just surviving, but thriving. Joining this community feels like stepping into a circle of strength where everyone's journey uplifts everyone else. It's about transforming together, practicing new ways of being that respect my needs and the needs of others. Imagine, her mentor suggested warmly, being part of a tribe where your past experiences are understood and your growth is supported, where you can practice real, authentic connections that aren't based on fear of rejection, but on mutual respect and joy. Yes, Emma replied, a smile spreading across her face. I imagine friendships and relationships where I'm valued for being me, not for what I can give, but for who I am. Where I can truly say that my needs matter and are met with understanding and compassion. It's not just about setting boundaries, it's about building a life filled with genuine connection and support. Her mentor's smile matched hers. That's the life you're stepping into, Emma. It's a place where your boundaries are not just respected, but celebrated, and where every interaction is an opportunity for growth and joy. As the session closed, Emma felt a profound connection to her new path, eager and ready to embrace the community and the transformative journey ahead. Her narrative had shifted from survival to a life rich with purpose and connection, a testament to her courage and the pivotal changes she had embraced. Chapter 6, Your Official Invitation. First, I want to start by saying thank you, truly. Thank you for taking the time to read this book and walk through this journey with me. I know how challenging it can be to dive into the messy, uncomfortable world of boundaries, especially when no one ever taught us how to set them in a way that feels loving and healthy. I've been exactly where you are now, sitting in that same confusion, feeling unworthy, drained, and unsure where to even begin. For years, I struggled with people-pleasing, bending over backward for everyone around me, always saying yes when my soul was screaming no. I know what it feels like to be exhausted because you're constantly pouring from an empty cup, to be weighed down by guilt, afraid that if you set boundaries, you'll push people away or worse, they'll stop loving you. But I'm living proof that it doesn't have to be that way. The reason I wrote this book is because no one taught us how to say no with love, how to protect our energy without feeling selfish, or how to take care of ourselves without worrying that we'll lose the relationships that matter most. I had to learn all of this the hard way, through trial and error, through the painful process of feeling like I was letting people down just by prioritizing myself. But what I discovered along the way is this: boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges. Bridges that connect us to the kind of relationships and experiences we actually want. They don't push people away. They invite in more respect, more love, and more trust. That's why I want to offer you something beyond just this book. I'm offering you a complimentary 20-minute coaching call where we can dive into the heart of your struggles with setting boundaries. Whether you're feeling confused about where to start, unsure about how to handle guilt, or just tired of feeling like you're always the one making sacrifices, I'm here to help. I've walked this path. I've sat in the same pain, feeling unworthy, feeling like I had to earn love by doing everything for everyone else. But it doesn't have to be that way. During our call, I'll help you get clear on your specific challenges, and I'll offer you a quick, actionable strategy to start shifting things immediately. We'll also see if joining my community could be a good fit for you. This space is full of people just like us, people who are tired of giving and giving until there's nothing left. In our community, we practice setting boundaries together. We heal old wounds. We create lives that feel balanced and free. If any part of this book resonated with you, if you felt the pain I've described and are ready to start living differently, I encourage you to take this next step with me. This isn't just about reading a book. It's about living what you've learned. It's about finally setting boundaries in a way that honors your worth. So here's your official invitation. Let's have a conversation. I've been where you are, and I want to help you take your next step forward. You can schedule your complimentary coaching call by insert link contact info. Thank you again for trusting me to guide you through these pages. I'm here for you, and I can't wait to see how these principles will transform your life. This is your moment to choose yourself, and I'm honored to be part of that journey with you. With so much gratitude, James Bansbach. To book a 20-minute coaching call with your local wizard, James Bansbach, just follow the link below. Limited spots available. Apply for 20-minute coaching call